Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this interaction we are having in our series, The Toppers Talk. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome Mr. Harnit Singh Sudan, who has secured 177th rank in the Civil Services examination this year in his very second attempt. He cleared the mains in his very first attempt last year too. Harnit is a BTech graduate in electrical engineering from IIT Ropar, Punjab. He hails from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and he chose anthropology as his optional. Congratulations, Harnit, and welcome to this interactive session. And thanks so much for giving your time, trying to provide answers to much asked questions that the students always have in the context of this examination.
So the pleasure is all mine, and I get to interact with my teacher of anthropology. The pleasure is again mine.
Thank you, Harnit. Harnit, let me start on a generic note. This is your second attempt, and you secured a very good rank in the exam. You were able to clear the mains in your very first attempt too in your previous year. So, can you explain to our viewers what strategy you have adopted for your preparation? You can start with the prelims and then move on to the mains.
Uh, I would say that clearing prelims in the first attempt actually was a bit of luck also, because when I saw my mark sheet after the mark sheet released, I saw that my marks were exactly as the cutoff of the prelims in GS at least. So regarding prelims and mains, sir, I would say that we need to filter out information, and rather than just blindly going for books and content, we need to focus on how we can improve our guesswork also, because
Okay.
the analytical part, the on the spot analysis is very much required in the nature of the prelims. And for the mains, uh, we need to strategize how to manage time and to present maximum content in the limited space provided, so that our answers stand out from others and we are able to get just half a mark or a mark extra in each answer. That makes a lot of difference.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thanks, Harnit. And from your academic background, we know you would have had to prepare and succeed in the IIT JEE examination, which I'm sure is as competitive as civil services exam. Then, of course, your university examinations, which are also there, which are equally competitive. So, how did you find the preparation for the UPSC civil services examination compared to the previous exams you have taken as a part of your academics?
So the nature is same, because again, as you have rightly mentioned, that it is competitive, and I would not say competitive, but it is very competitive civil services examination. And with regards to the preparation, uh, in the engineering line of field, uh, the thing is that the courses are short duration, and once you prepare a course, you are done with it and you need not study it again. But in civil services, it is a very long drawn out journey, and we have to study subjects apart. I would say very little relation to engineering also, completely different subjects like ethics. Studying ethics is a uphill task itself. So the diversity and the vastness of the exam is what separates it from others.
Yes. That actually gives us an idea as to how different this exam is compared to the academic exams. Indeed, civil services examinations, including the general studies and the optionals, are pretty vast and dynamic also at the same time. And we will never be content with the quality of the preparation that we have already gone through. There's always an urge to study more and more, is because anything virtually can be asked from under the sky, especially in the general studies paper. Thanks for that, Harnit. And generally speaking, can you walk us through your study schedule and strategies for preparing for the exam? Like, when did you start preparing once you decided that you will take the civil services examination?
Uh, Sir, in the initial days, I had not quite so much figured out which optional to go for. I had taken the route that I will study a bit of GS, then I will analyze how to go about it. But I would say at the start of 2021, I was 90% sure that I was going to go for anthropology. And when I did that, I made it a point that I give almost equal time to both GS and anthropology because both of them have good number of marks in the mains examination at least. And with regards to the study schedule, I'm an early riser, uh, and I used to give around I would say minimum 10, maximum I have pushed to 16 also, 10 to 16 hours of study a day. And maybe once in a weekend I will take some time off for myself also. And that was pretty much it, sir. Just day in day out sacrifice, as Usain Bolt says it, day in day out sacrifice. That is the thing.
Okay. So you started actually going through the GS syllabus even before you decided which optional you would take. And subsequently, of course, you have chosen anthropology. And once you have decided upon your optional, you started actually giving equal time to both the GS and the optional, because optional also carries the equal good number of marks, right? uh, One more thing, Harnit,
Yes.
that there is a very common problem many aspirants face, that there is too much of information and too many opinions. I started mentoring for civil service examinations almost 30 years ago. And there was a time before the internet where students used to find a dearth of information. There was hardly any information that they could access as swiftly and as real time as the aspirants of today are able to do. And the internet is now flooded with information, opinions, study material, and whatnot. And students often panic in this particular context. So, given this backdrop, in this context of availability of abundant information, what was your strategy regarding the sources? How did you manage this aspect? Because what is impressive is that you were able to clear the mains in your very first attempt, and you got a wonderful rank in your very second attempt. So that actually shows that there is some kind of a specific strategy that you must have adopted, and all this information that's available did not overwhelm you. So I would like you to specifically highlight for our viewers, how did you manage with the content? What was your specific strategy that you have used in this context?
So it is quite true. If we go into the market today, we can find, I would not hesitate to say, like lakhs of notes, different institutes, different teachers, and everything. But the thing is, we need to minimalize it, because other than that, if we don't do it from aspirants, we will become content creators, so as to say. For that, sir, I what I did was I baselined like the bare minimum notes and the bare minimum books that are said in the market. Like for history, you study only one book and stuff like that. After that, when I prepare, for example, for prelims, I'm giving the tests. I find that some area of my preparation is lacking. For that specifically, I may go and refer a bit more information to get the level of preparation that is required. So I did that sort of thing. And for mains also, what I did was I prepared a base notes from the classes itself at Vajiram. And after that, I used to keep adding value to them, like adding from current affairs, adding from other topper copies, adding from other extra books that are available in the market. For example, in my previous attempt, I had limited time, so in anthropology itself I added very limited information. But after that, in the after the mains, I had a lot of time, so I added some value information so as to get some more marks in my next attempt if need be. So that sort of thing I kept on. It was an incremental thing rather than getting for a load of books at the start. I would start from the minimum and I would increment the information so as to save my time and to maximize the outputs.
That's wonderful. So, what you are advising to our students and the aspirants is that keep your sources minimal, but go on adding value as you move forward. So you have used the class notes from our Vajiram classes as your base, and then subsequently you started adding value in terms of current affairs, where and wherever, when and wherever possible, and that's how you went on trying to increase the value of the content that you have prepared. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That is absolutely correct.
Thank you. Thanks, Harnit. That should be really helpful for the students. And was there any difference in your strategy of preparation after you finished your prelims? Because most of the students try to stagger a lot of work after prelims. What would your advice be? Like while you're preparing for the prelims, should you also deal with the topics, in general studies, especially which are there for the mains?
Uh, Sir, actually, the preparation for mains begins before prelims. It is actually the reverse, what we say. But what my advice would be to students is that while you start preparing, you need not differentiate if it was for prelims, if it for mains. Prepare holistically as holistically as you can, and you simultaneously prepare your note for mains. At least the baseline notes, not the value-added notes, but the baseline notes should be prepared. And when prelims is about approaching, like I would say, give it 3 months, good 3 months. When the prelims is approaching, then you shift gears from mains to prelims. You begin writing, attempting MCQ tests and improvising on the factual aspects of the content. And once the prelim is done, since you already have made note for mains, you only need to revise. You only need to see the PYQs, and the feedback from the tests wherever you give, you need just improvise on that. While I say that you need to prepare baseline note for mains, it includes for GS and for optional both also. So this sort of differentiated approach we can do at the later end of the preparations.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Harnit. So, what you're advising is that there's no specific difference between the way you prepare for the prelims and mains. So, you start preparing for the mains right from the outset, and then make all your baseline or the basic foundational aspects of the general studies mains notes right before the prelims, and that also, I'm sure, includes the optional, and then any value addition that you may want to give to your material, you do so after the prelims is over, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you.
At least for the first attempt.
Thanks. Thank you. And coming specifically to the optional now, Harnit, that given general studies is very exhaustive and also dynamic at the same time, optional is usually considered the sheet anchor for this examination. And I think a critical step in this exam is the choice of the optional itself, because a student will be literally wedded to the optional subject for a couple of years. So I'm sure anthropology played an important role in the success of your examination. So my question is, what motivated you to choose anthropology as your optional subject for civil services exam? What are all the questions that probably came to your mind when you were deciding on the optional subject?
Sir, I would like to answer first the questions that I asked myself while I chose an optional before going into it deeply. First was, is it scoring? Obviously, is it scoring or it is not scoring? What is the trend happening, and how much marks can you score? Number one thing was that. Number two was that, are is there material and is there coaching available for it? Like, it should not be a rare occurrence; it should be a common thing. And third was, can I interest myself in doing that? Can I see myself making sense of things in that subject? So I was actually deciding between 3 subjects: geography, anthropology, and economics. I left geography because I found it to be very, very diverse, more than anthropology.
Okay,
And I did not take economics because there were some portions that I was not comfortable in at the college level itself.
okay,
So anthropology, and I had some latent interest, I would not say. I would say I had some latent interest in my 10th standard, at least, in biology and some human evolution studies. Unfortunately, I did not take medical as my higher study subject during 11th and 12th. So that sort of thing kicked me forward. And when I started reading some books, like the standard books that were suggested to me by seniors, I found it to be doable, that I can do this now. And moreover, it has good overlap in almost all the streams of GS also. Like in paper one, lot of help. Paper two, the tribal portion you can do. Paper three, lot of things again, and science and tech especially. And in ethics also, we can use it a bit. So I would say anthropology has made me holistic rather than from just a numbers guy. I'm somewhat a people's guy now also.
That's very nice. I always keep telling my students, I'm sure you remember that once you go through our interactions in anthropology class, not only as an optional, but as a discipline, it will change your perspective towards the world, towards the people, and also towards yourself. And that seemed to have had a good impact on you as
Yes.
well, Harnit. Thank you. So what you have listed down is that you chose anthropology because it was scoring. You chose anthropology because it has had a very good review in terms of the success of the candidates. Whether you chose anthropology because there is guidance available and good sources available. And the most important
Yes.
reason that you have highlighted is that anthropology overlaps with many other papers of general studies, and it also comes handy for your general essay. So, thanks so much for that insight, Harnit. And many students must be anxious to know the answer to this next question of mine. Your academic background is engineering, having studied at IIT, and you would have given up biology and social sciences immediately after your schooling. So the subject of anthropology would have been very new to you. And how did you feel learning anthropology? Was it challenging at all to learn the concepts?
So I would say it was very alien to me at the first. But what I did was I started with what I knew. I started with the biology portion, like the cell, the human evolution, chimpanzees, that sort of thing. I had some interest in. So just to keep the ball rolling, I had started with that. And then when I joined classes at Vajiram, you were very kind enough to allow us learner in some fields like the social anthropology, linguistic anthropology, tribal portion of anthropology, to I would say address my doubts also in that regard. So I would say it was a bit rough at the start, but interacting with you, getting to know the thought process by your real lectures, it was very nice. In the middle, I would say it started clicking to me. Oh, that is why marriage is the way it is today. That is how marriage has evolved. That is how religion has evolved. That is how something has evolved. So that sort of thing, it has a learning curve. I would say no optional is easy, but it is not tough once your mind for it. Once your neurons are linked for anthropology in your brain, it becomes easier.
That's nice. Thanks, Annette. As I keep saying, we are not studying any alien species here. We are talking about ourselves, and it's very easy for us to relate to anthropology, is because we are going. We are, as Aristotle said, it's a gossip that revolves around man. An anthropologist is a gossiper who talks about himself.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's not very
Yes,
difficult
yes.
once you get into the groove of the preparation. And that's nice. Thanks, Harnit. And how was anthropology specifically rewarding to you in terms of how it helped you in other papers of GS and SA? You did mention that it has an overlap. And did it also help you in interpreting and analyzing the general studies questions and general essay, and perhaps even your personality test?
So I would start with the personality test itself, because the board is very sometimes very intrigued that being an engineer you have taken anthropology, and how can you mix anthropology and engineering? So that sort of question, when one thinks about it, it becomes very, I would say, very interesting to answer, and it has good potential to score marks. Like I used to say in my interviews, that biomechanics is a field that has the mergence of both engineering and anthropology. Like the disabled or differently abled people, like the amputees, for example, we can have developed specific arms for them, but we need to study the human part also. That comes from anthropology, and the mechanics of how the arm or the bionic arm will work, that comes from engineering design. So that is a, I would say, successful marriage of two subjects. And with regard to the GS preparation, sir, what I used to do, because we use a lot of thinkers' name in our anthropology subject. So what I used to do was, in GS1 there are topics like communalism, urbanization, women empowerment. I used to specifically add or force an anthropological perspective in them. I used to use those names in them also to add value to that part. On GS2 specifically, there is a portion like the FRA or the PESA Act that they ask sometimes in mock tests or in PYQs also, that can be answered from anthropological perspective. For GS3, I would say the science and tech part, like we study a lot of biology, like we study recombinant DNA technology, that can be used. And for ethics, it adds a different, altogether different dimension to some tribal practices as a matter of ethics in that sense. And that sort of different angle continues in essay also. It adds an extra dimension. Like I used to specifically add anthropological or tribal in both my essays to make it more diverse.
Nice. Thanks, Harnit. I mean, one of the things I keep saying normally to the students is that, there's a lot of value addition you can give to your answers in general studies by bringing the anthropological perspectives. And our perspectives essentially include the holistic perspective. And also, we go into the origins of everything, the historical perspective, as we call it. And if we are able to
Yes.
bring that kind of a regime into general studies, you will be scoring much better than those who probably do not have anthropology as an optional. And thanks, you have
Yes.
vindicated my point there. And I'm glad anthropology was providing you with that kind of an anchor that's required to score a little more than the other aspirants in this examination. Thanks, Harnit, for that. And my next question is on the note making. Note making, regarding the note making, apart from the class notes, which I have always seen you very meticulously noting down everything that I was speaking about. Did you make any more notes for your revision? Because you also had access to the 3 volumes of printed study material and some handouts and all that we have given you. So, did you refer to any other generic sources like textbooks in anthropology, or what have you done when you tried to make your notes for this exam?
Uh, Sir, during your classes, if I have notes with me on the Almira itself, but it is difficult to reach as of now. I'm sitting in an interview.
That's all right.
But if I go and look at those notes, they will probably be this thick. And
Okay.
on top of that, there are the 3 volumes of books. It is not practically possible to revise in those 100 days of mains preparation these notes and give an answer. So what I did was, while I was preparing your class notes, I simultaneously, after the class, I used to study the books that are given from Vajiram, and I used to add, and if any good examples that may not have been covered in the syllabus, because obviously you cannot speak everything in the class itself. You leave it for ourselves also. So I used to add that content first of all, and with that, the the lecture delivery that you had in your mind regarding what you have said and what you wanted us to study was complete. This was I did this till my prelims, till I prepared for the prelims in my first attempt. After that, sir, what was needed was to just sharpen the edge, because the sword base of the sword is, you need to just sharpen the edge. So what I used to do was, there is a book called Anthropology Simplified by Vivek Vasme sir, that is specifically written for the mains. I used to add some value from that. Then I used to refer to some topper copies, like some good examples they have researched and they have developed the case studies. I used to add that. And after that, since I was keeping revising, I did not write all the things. For example, when I was making notes on the topic of religion, I did not remember what Durkheim had said as definition of religion or the name of his book, because it had become a part of my nature also. So what I did was I used to make only small diagrams, and when I finally prepared my notes for anthropology this time also, they were only like this. Like I would say 20 pages at max, and they are only specific coded to me. If I give them to someone, they will say there is a pile of trash, but they do not know that they have been reduced from this much. So
I
that sort of
understand.
things.
That's awesome, actually. So, as you went ahead with your preparation, you made your material more crisper, more concise, and probably your the last version of your notes is something which is in its own code, and you had your mnemonics written on them, so it was easy for you to quickly revise and keep revising the same. That that's a
Actually,
very nice
there is
input you
no
have given.
there is no white space on the page left that I have last pages that I have, because they are so
Okay.
densely worded. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I am sure the aspirants find that input very helpful, Harnit. And one more thing is answer writing, which is a critical part of this preparation. So, how much effort did you put in answer writing as a part of your preparation? And what strategy have you adopted in this context?
So answer writing is the, I would say, the base of what your main score will be, because we are able to decode within the limited time, and we are able to process that information in our brain what is required to be answered, and not just vomit what we know in the exam, then we will be able to score good. So in my first attempt, uh, because I had little experience, what I used to do, I was only write, and that's it. But now in this attempt, I made it a point that I will make my answers look more appealable. I will include deliberately include some diagrams. I will include some flow charts. I will include some boxes. I will include some circles, so that when the examiner is checking my paper, he has checked hundreds of paper before me. He will check hundreds of paper after me. But my paper, every answer should stand out, and that requires a lot of practice. That you be comfortable with making flow charts. That you be comfortable with including diagrams. You have to manage the space also. Including a diagram does not completely involve you of the fact that you have to mention some good content also. So you have to manage the space management. You have to also study beforehand. Like how am I going to do it? Whether it is feasible to draw a diagram or not. What can I draw actually? So when I told you that I had made some these much notes, most of them were had each element of the syllabus, like the small heading, subheading, had a diagram for them. Like I still remember when you had told us that human evolution, there's a topic, I don't know, 2.1, like how from apes we evolved to man. You had drawn very rude stick figures, from a dog to a sitting ape and then a standing man. That was the diagram that I used in my exam. Whenever the question on, I don't, sir, sorry, sir, I do not seem to recall the topic. That is a diagram that I used in my exam. So that sort of things, at every part of the syllabus I used to draw, whether there was something on the internet or not. I made it a point that I will do it for myself. And apart from that, there is one more thing that I would like to mention, is a time management. For 10 marker questions, I used to give 7 minutes, and for 15 marker questions, I used to give 11 minutes, and for 20 marker questions, specifically for the anthropology, I used to give around 13 and a half to 14 minutes. So this requires a lot of practice, because some students cannot write that fast. So there is a learning curve for sure, but once you are able to do it, once you finish a paper, full GS paper, you will feel that you have fought a battle actually.
That's nice. So essentially, the components that go into writing a good answer, you need to write the right content, you need to do it within the space that is provided for you, and you also need to do it within the time that has been allocated for it. So I
Yes.
think no aspirant can achieve all the three in one go. And over and above that, you need to have the conceptual clarity to write an answer, and wherever possible you were also trying to be creative in representing some flowcharts or stick diagrams and whatnot. So I think this, as you have
Yes.
said, it will only come with practice. So the three mantras are practice, practice, and practice, and there's no shortcut for this. Yeah, wonderful, Harnit. That actually shows your grit and effort, you know, and the kind of hard work you have put in preparing for this exam. Thanks so much. And you were my online student, and most of our classes are hybrid, so we have online as well as offline. So you have had your own reasons to choose online classes, I'm sure. But how has been your experience with our online classes? Were you, or did you feel that you are connected to us as faculty? Were you able to interact with us like any other student attending the class in the physical form? Were you able to get all the guidance and support from us despite you being a student in the online version?
Sir, I believe uh, when there is a will, there is a way. I was very diligent in my classes, to be honest. I did not ask any irrelevant questions, and I made it a point that I will be prepared before going into the lecture, so that I don't waste the time of the faculty, and I don't waste the time of other students also. And that speaks for itself. Most of the teachers at Vajiram, including they at least remembered me during my lectures, and they used to entertain my doubts also. And even after classes, they used to connect with me. So during the class, when there is stipulated time, I know there is a lot of students, but they has made it a point that they have reduced the size of batches and they have increased the batches so that each student gets his or her doubt clear. And it may be uncomfortable to some at the start to think of that we are so far connected to Delhi and the people are unknown. But once you get in the loop of studying and being prepared during the lecture, I believe there is no much difference. I have prepared, I have engaged with Vajiram 100% in online mode for GS and the optional studies. So my journey is a proof that you can achieve everything even if in online mode. But the thing is that you require commitment on your end.
That's nice, wonderful. So you do feel you are as much involved in an online class as any other students who are attending the classes physically. Thanks so much for clarifying that doubt, Harnit. And coming to something a little more personal, the preparation indeed takes a toll on you. So I'm sure, I mean, always have known you as that smiling gentleman sitting in my online session, and at the same time, intensely listening and writing the material. You never looked stressed for me, to be honest. How did you manage the stress of this exam? What did you do to unwind yourself, to de stress yourself during the preparation?
So I would give the credit to my family, my core family. I'm very transparent with my parents, and I have a younger sibling, my sister, and we live in a joint family actually. So I would extend the circle to them also. I used to engage with them, and I used to tell them that this is the problem I am finding. My father was very involved in my preparation, and he made deep schedules for me, so to say. Uh, so that was one thing. Other than that, sir, a bit of belief in yourself, a bit of introspection, a bit of self-talk, and following a structured approach is very important. I used to make day-by-day schedules so that at the end of the day, I keep myself motivated that, oh, this is what I have done, this is what I have not, I was not able to do. So just to keep practical sense of things, I used to make schedules, and I had learned it, I would say the hard way, that not everything you envision can be achieved. It will take some time, but if your efforts are pure, you will end up achieving the thing. And when I entered the civil services, I had known that it will be again a BTech like thing. It will again maybe take 4 years for me to clear. So I had to persevere through that time and be a bit patient also, because the exam has like lot of unknowns, and there is only very limited thing as mortals that we can do to clear this exam. So just trust the process and keep your head high and just keep working towards your goal. You will find your success rewarding.
That's wonderful, Harnit. There are things that we can control and things that we can't control. So, make sure that you are in control of all the things that we can control. And
Yes.
hard work and commitment and honesty in yourself and in your preparation, I'm sure, will help all the aspirants. And thanks, Harnit. It was indeed wonderful interacting with you. And I hope the viewers found it enriching the preparation strategy with your inputs that you have shared with all of us today. And on behalf of all of us at Vajiram, all the aspirants, and me personally, I wish you the very best in your career and your service, Harnit. And I hope I'll get to read and see more of you through your good work and service towards the country. And thanks a lot for sharing your time and sharing your insights with us today. Thank you so much.
So the honor is mine to get to talk to you again once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.